Hi everybody, it's Ashley Bradford with Piano Lessons for Adults program. I hope everybody had a wonderful New Year's. And I thought that a great thing to talk about for New Year would be visualization. And so the title of this little talk is Visualization, What Are We Seeing in Our Mind's Eye? And as you know, I reference different pillars of music, the pillar of sound, the pillar of feel, the pillar of look, and of course, the pillar of understanding. So we can apply visualization, what are we seeing in our mind's eye, and we could talk through the different aspects. What do we see in our mind's eye when we hear a sound? What do we see in our mind's eye when we feel something on the piano? What are we seeing in our mind's eye when we see something on black dots on lines and spaces? What do we see in our mind's eye in reference to theory, understanding? So this is thought this would be a great topic for the new year, and to really begin to connect to the visualization. Different adult learners that I work with reference their visualizations, what they're seeing in their mind's eye in different ways. So I can give you some examples of that. Some people call it the piano in their head when they're visualizing that they're visualizing a piano in their head. Some people call it their chalkboard, visualizing more of a classroom with blackboards all around and different concepts on the blackboards. Let's see, what other ways? Thought bubble, did I say that one yet? Some people refer to it as their thought bubbles, what they're seeing in their mind's eye. And so I'm going to give you some examples, some specific examples of different visualizations that I have and that others have as we're playing and as we're working out music that enable us to clearly see, feel, hear, understand what we're doing. So we can think of this visualization as the motherboard. We can think that whatever we're doing musically, feel, see, hear, understand, that we're plugging into something up here. There's some motherboard with a hook in for sound. What am I hearing? A hook in for what am I feeling? What am I understanding? What am I seeing? Right? And each of these are plugging into the motherboard. The motherboard is the visualization that we can see in our mind's eye. And ultimately, in the perfect world, what I really coach to is we want to be sure that that visualization is very clear in our mind's eye before we go rogue on the piano and noodling around and doing something we don't have any idea what the heck we're doing. Ultimately, we really want that visual in our mind's eye to be very clear connection to the motherboard to know exactly where to move, what to do at any given time. We want to be able to see it here as we go, see it in our mind's eye. So we can use different examples from this, and you all can think of your own examples and can maybe message me or put in the comments different visualizations that you have. But I'm going to give you one visualization from each of the different pillars, just to get you started. So a visualization that I have, something I see in my mind's eye as I'm hearing sounds. A real primal, basic visualization as I'm hearing sounds moving up and down would be visualization of like a Jacob's ladder sort of a visual. So if we think here at the holidays, like a Jacob's, I get a very clear visualization of like a Jacob's ladder up to the heaven, with the different rungs, a rung for Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, re, mi, re, do. Do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do, ti, la, sol, la, ti, do. Hey, just a very clear ladder. One rung for each of the sounds. And the very common visual that I get as I'm discovering sounds, hearing sounds, figuring these sounds out is that visual of ascending or descending up and down that ladder and where I'm at relatively on that ladder of sound. So I might hear la da 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 da, right? The end of Auld Lang Syne. La da 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 da. And my visual, so this happens to be mi, re, do, right? So my visual there would be on the ladder, 2 up from do. 2 steps up from do on the ladder. 2 wood planks or platforms, however you might be visualizing it, and I would see myself moving from this 3rd plank down to the 2nd, down to the 3rd. Mi, re, do, just like that. And obviously you could get very much more clear as far as what key you're in, but that's a basic visualization for just a basic sound context. Now, if I take that then a little further and say, well, what would the visualization on the feel be like then? And if I take that same example, la da 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 da, mi, re, do. So I would pick a key and I would say, well, let's play this in the key of B major. So I would be visualizing B major, and that's what I said, the keyboard in your head. So that's the keyboard in my head. Okay, so I'm going to specifically put this ladder now. I'm going to lay it over a real specific visual of the keyboard in my head for B major. So then instead of just mi, re, do, just step, 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 stepping down, ladder, 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 down the ladder. Now I'm thinking very specifically, black, black, white, because in B major, mi, re, do is black, black, white, and more specifically than that, in my keyboard in my head, it's the 2 black keys. The set of 2 black keys, top of the 2 black keys, bottom of the 2 black keys, white key, not touching the other 2 black, mi, re, do, but it's just the piano, the piano in your head, and visualizing that feel, what that would feel like in the key of B major. So that's a specific example of the feel and the visualization on the feel. Now, if I was reading music and I was looking at lines and spaces, I would also have a very specific, I'd be following a piano in my head for a visualization on that. So as I saw those notes coming down, it might look like line, space, line, or space, line, space, depending upon where it was on the staff. But as I see that, let's just say space, line, space, which is what it would be if it was in the middle of range on the piano, then you would see it as a space and a line and a space on the staff. So as I see that, I'm visualizing in my mind that same piano in my head. Black key, black key, black key, white key. And I'm visualizing that in my head as I see space, line, space on the staff. And I want to be very clear on my visual. I want to see that visual in my head before my fingers just go flailing around. I'm not just throwing fingers around. I'm seeing something, a look. I'm seeing something on lines and spaces. And I'm connecting that look to my motherboard. Connecting that look to that piano in my head, and I'm very clearly visualizing which key that I need and then I'm telling my finger to go there. So if it's a space line space and I'm in B major, then I'm going to see the piano in my head, and I'm going to see the top of the two black keys, then I'm going to play it. I'm going to see the next to the two black keys, I'm going to play it. I'm going to see that white note right there in the piano in my head, and I'm going to play it. We need some sort of an ending on that, right? I just keep doing me right now. Okay. So that's a visual for a look. Matching, plugging lines and spaces into the motherboard to give specific directions to the fingers on where to go. And that's a very important key to reading. It's an important key to all the different aspects of playing music. But, I mean, you're really reading, so often we're just sort of noodling around and we're not actually visualizing what we're wanting on the piano before we go to play it. And we're doing a lot of jabbing and guessing and poking, playing by ear the same way. A lot of jabbing and guessing and poking, instead of actually plugging into our visual and knowing in our mind what we're trying to do before we just flop around everywhere. And then what was the last visual that I was going to tell you about? Oh, the visual of the understanding. So we talked about sound, we talked about feel, we talked about look. What would be visuals for understanding that I would have? Well, in that it's a little bit more of a chalkboard, and I might have a lot of my B major options on that chalkboard. So whether I was playing by ear, whether I was reading, I would have my B major chalkboard in my head of what are the 7 sounds in B major, what are the primary triads that I need in B major. That would be on my chalkboard. How about the other diatonic triads? What would be the secondary chords? How about the major 2, the supplemental chords like the big 2, the major 3? What would a Neapolitan look like in this key? What would some of the other secondary triads look like? How about my 7th chords? So obviously the more you know, the more is going to be on that visual of the chalkboard in your head. But that's what I mean by understanding. A visualization idea for understanding. So the more you know, the more you're going to be visualizing on that chalkboard of this is the stuff that I could do in B major. If let's say that we're reading Mozart, this is the stuff Mozart could do in B major. These are the options. This is the toolkit in B major. And so as I'm playing, I have those options sitting there in my mind's eye for my chalkboard, and I'm playing from that. And based on those musical formulas, those 7th chords, the relative minor, the closely related keys. See, so there's a lot of information that could be on that chalkboard that I'm seeing all at one time because I'm just viewing a picture of that chalkboard in my mind. And then I'm playing and I'm either identifying as I'm reading, oh, that's that one. That's the 5. Oh, that's that one. That's when we modulate to the relative minor key. And this is how we usually do it. And so I'm sort of identifying, oh, as I'm reading, I'm matching to my visual on my chalkboard as far as what I know in that key. So that's an example of visualization in understanding. So there's 4 different areas: sound, feel, look, and then understanding, really the theory of it and how we talk about it. And specific examples of things that I would visualize before I would make a move or make a decision about each of those 4 different areas. Definitely not an exhaustive list, just a start, but something to get you thinking. Definitely message me or put in comments. Love to hear suggestions that you have, and would love to hear visualizations that help you and things that work for you, what you're seeing in your mind's eye as you're playing and as you're working at the piano. So again, I'm Ashley Bradford with Piano Lessons for Adults. I'm at the web at skypeadultpianolessons.com, and of course here on Facebook. Every week I do a little live sharing some strategies. I have a international studio with adult learners on Skype, as well as some local learners as well that come to my in-home studio. And on a weekly basis, we do one-on-one weekly lessons, and we just have a really, really wonderful time. So thanks everybody for joining us. I will see you again next Monday. Let me know if there's anything you would like to hear about, and we'll talk about it. Okay, see you then.